The bear was chasing us down a never-ending hallway. Myself and another young man kind of resembled a guy I went to school with years ago. The hallway was dark and reddish, almost like an antique movie theater. It was about 20 feet wide and 20 feet high, with about 10-foot doors, and they were the dual doors that flip both ways, that had no locking mechanisms or no knobs or anything like that. They would flap both ways when you'd pass through them, and I knew that the bear was closing in on us quickly. I could hear it huffing and the ground shaking at my feet. This bear had an imperative to destroy us. I could just sense it, and I knew it. It was moving so fast and closing in so quickly. I just felt like there was no escape. We left our weapons behind us, and this giant foe was pissed off. It was one of the most terrifying nightmare sequences I've ever had. What's up, guys? Iceman here. So, just last night, man, I had this dream about a grizzly bear chasing me. It was horrifying, and I knew I had this coming. I've only been making these videos for a few months now, just going over one bear story after another bear story. A bear attack here, a bear attack there, and just all the crippling situations various people were put into unexpectedly. I knew I had it coming. Strangely enough, I actually had another dream the previous night, but it didn't involve a bear, it involved something else, and I'll get to that at the end of this video. But I wanted to tell you guys this brief story before I forget about it, and maybe some of you can help me interpret this dream in the comments below, because there's been a distinct repetitive thing about it that I'm really curious about, and it has to do with what happened in this dream and what happened in the previous dream I had the night before, which I will explain at the end of this video. So basically, it was a friend of mine from school some years back, and we were in a wilderness, and it was quite dark. It was getting very dark anyway, and it was raining out, alright? A bit of a very light rain with a light storm in the distance. There were a lot of pine trees, and I remember for whatever reason, we were seeking after a bear, and we knew there were a few of them somewhere in the vast vicinity that we were in. Now, I'm not one who has any interest in hunting a bear, and I never did. As mentioned in previous videos, I'm quite fascinated by them, and I really have no interest in killing one for sport. I don't feel like I'd enjoy the meat, and the fact that they're not a prey animal, there's just something off about trying to eat it, I feel. So I have a fascination with bears, and a mysterious respect for the animal. But nonetheless, for whatever reason, we were seeking after one with rifles, and I think we were going to shoot it. I don't know if it caused trouble on the property or if we thought it was a killer bear, but for whatever reason we were out hunting after the thing. And we weren't too far away from a barn or a mansion or something. It was some very nice property, some very nice real estate structure that was on this land as well, and it wasn't too far away from us at all. So we saw then in the distance, on a great clearing, a sow, a very large sow, just trotting quite quickly down this path, coming toward us, but not directly at us. She was going at about a 30-degree angle in our direction. We were getting ready to shoot it, but then we hesitated, and we noticed it was going just in a straight line, not toward us, and it really struck our curiosity. So she was just trotting and trotting, kind of like a horse, and she passed us by, and we started chasing her. It was odd because she paid no attention to us, so we just started chasing her, and for whatever reason, we must have thought that she was afraid of us or something. Now, this incident only lasted about 30 seconds, and then we made it to the house structure property that I mentioned. Now, before we were able to reach that vicinity, it briefly crossed my mind, what if something's chasing her? But I paid no attention to that for a moment, and all of a sudden, she ran into a railing that was by a staircase that was descending, and it injured her greatly, to the point where it killed her after only a few seconds. It split her open or something, and she was all cut up, and there was this green gas emitting from her, and a similar green liquid just spraying all over the place. And since my buddy was chasing her, oddly enough, he ran into the railing as well, and he just got stuck in it. It didn't kill him or cut him open or anything. And I remember this slime from the bear was just spraying all over my friend, and he made a very grotesque look on his face, and he remarked on how hideous this stuff smelled that was getting all over him. And the bear thrashed around a little bit, but then gave in and just passed. It was all cut up. It seemed like it was suffering from this disease before it even ran into the railing. Like, we saw it emitting some green gas as it was running. So it must have been in great suffering or something like that. But anyway, I pulled my friend from the bear because they were kind of mangled up together. And I tried to clean him off a little bit. He had that green goo all over him, and I got some on myself as well. And although I couldn't really smell it in the dream, we both knew that it really stank. But then I remember turning around as I recalled my concern previously that maybe something was chasing the sow. And sure enough, in the distance, I saw a massive grizzly bear. Now, I don't mean massive like beyond what we would see in this world. It was just a really big one, like a 2,000-pound one that would stand like 10 feet tall. And it was larger than this sow that we just witnessed its suffering of. So this giant bear was coming right at us from like 200 yards away, but it was closing in quite quickly. And there were like 2 other bears behind it, but they were far less of a concern. They were like a fraction of its size. And my friend and I, we must have dropped our weapons when we were chasing after this sow bear. We were instantly terrified and knew that it was imminent that we get out of this situation. So we look in front of us in the same direction that sow was heading, and now this great ruin of a bear. And it was the doorways I explained at the beginning of this video. It was like the entrance to this mansion, only they were 10-foot high doors, and there were those dual doors that you could just push right through, like barn doors or something, you know what I'm saying? And they would flap both ways. So nonetheless, we ran through these doors, we pushed through them. They were quite heavy, but we were able to get through them, only to find a hallway. And about 50 feet in front of us, there was another set of doors. So we ran the 50 feet and we pushed through the next set of doors, only to see ahead of us again another set of doors about 50 feet down. And the bear, I could tell, was getting very close, so I had no time to look to the left or to look to the right and give it much attention at all. But I did see that there were smaller doors on the left and right, but I just didn't have time to stop. And I wasn't sure if those were the same type of doors or not, but we just kept going forward down this hallway, pushing these doors, and this giant ruin was closing in on us. But you know, I'm curious, what do you guys think about this dream? What's odd is I had a similar one the night before. I was with some acquaintance, right? This is a different dream now because that's where that other dream ended. Just passing through these doors, and that bear was just closing in on us, and it seemed that there was no way out. But in this other dream I had the night before, I was in this facility with an acquaintance, a girl, a human female. And we were just briefly acquainted, I think, so I didn't have much invested in her at all. And there was a tiger nearby in a different room. This facility felt like it was a vet or some zookeeping place or something like that, but it was really nice and clean, but rather open, this area. But there was a room not far from us, and we started walking toward it, and we heard a tiger. I just knew it was a tiger, a massive tiger. You could hear its bellows just vibrate through the walls. Kind of like when you go to the zoo and you see a tiger in the enclosure. You know how its roars and all that? They just shake everything, and they're just really awesome. They sound so deep and all that. But it gives you a clue that this animal is quite formidable, so it's a great warning as well. But we heard the tiger just bellowing in this other room, and the girl wanted to go check it out and pet it or something. Now, I knew better than that. I knew that they're very dangerous, and we're not the zookeepers, and we shouldn't just go and touch this thing and we shouldn't get close to it for that matter. So I stopped, but she kept going, and I remember warning her to stay away from it for her own sake, but she didn't really want to listen to me. It kind of gave me the impression that she knew she was with a tough guy or whatever, and she wanted to push the envelope. You know, I feel like I've been in situations like that before where a chick tries to push the envelope a little bit and put you in a situation you don't really want to be in. Maybe like a test, you know, like a shit test. Like, is this guy gonna act macho or is he just gonna back off? And I found that very unappealing of her because I wasn't really into this chick anyway, and I didn't want to play those games. And the fact that she tried to put me into that situation really turned me off about her. So I stopped in my tracks and I started going the other way or something. I didn't give a shit what her impression was of me at this point because I thought that was quite immature. You know, like, why would you go pet a tiger? Because then I'm going to be in the situation where I'm going to feel like I have to protect you, and this tiger is probably going to kick my ass because I didn't have a weapon on me or anything. And you know, I'm not a small guy at all. With shoes on, I'm about 6'4", weigh about 240 pounds. I push a lot of weight in the gym and all that, so I'm not like a fat guy or anything, you know. I'm muscular, a little bit of fat here and there, but I mean, I'm working on it. So I just felt like this was a sort of testy situation, you know, and I just found it extremely unappealing. And I knew I was gonna look like a wimp if I just didn't protect her, so I just didn't even want to be a part of it. I just walked away. I told her I didn't want to mess with it. So she walks into the room, and there was a growl again. And I knew that the situation went south quickly, because all of a sudden, one of the zookeepers ran up to the door. She opened it, where my female friend just walked into. And this zookeeper, I saw the look on her face. She hesitated, she was terrified. She had that look where it was like, oh my God, this is a bad situation. And she didn't know what to do for a moment. And me knowing that this woman was a zookeeper and a professional, that look from her really meant a lot. You know, the situation must be really dire if she might not even go into that room where this visitor just walked into. But she decided to go in that room anyway, and oddly enough, it was one of those flap doors, as ridiculous as that is, but it didn't have a knob on it or a handle. She just pushed it open and it flips both ways. So I knew the tiger could burst out of there right away. So basically what I did is I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And I ran into like a bathroom that was nearby. And the bathroom had one of those damn floppy doors as well that flops both ways, all right? Swings both ways. There's gotta be a word for those doors. I just haven't even looked them up, but I'll show a picture of one in the video. So I go into this bathroom and I'm like, oh God, this tiger's gonna come in here and maul my ass after it takes care of those females. So I run into a stall, right? And I'm in a stall, and the problem is, it's just like a typical bathroom stall, where there's like a 2-foot gap on the bottom of it, and a 3 or 4 foot gap on the top of it. So it's not like fully concealed with walls. And I go in there and I lock the little flimsy door, but I know the tiger could get under it or above it without any hesitation and get to me. And for whatever reason, I had a socket wrench in that room, so I grabbed that wrench and I held it tightly, and I knew I was gonna just try to beat the hell out of the tiger if it came at me aggressively, to the best of my ability. But I knew I was probably going to be a goner, just like how it was in the other dream with the grizzly chasing me through the hallway when I had no weapon. But what do you guys think these dreams mean? Is there something about them that's significant? And what's with these doors and these inescapable situations or whatever, where I'm about to be faced against a great foe? Let me know in the comments if any of you guys have any interpretations of these dreams, alright? And have you had any grisly dreams lately, or animal attack dreams for that matter? Like this video if you will, subscribe to the page, become a patron or a channel member if you want to support me further, links in the description below. And stay tuned for more chilling tales from the Iceman.